Thank you very much, everyone, for the opportunity to speak to you. My name's John Tindall from Choice Home Loans, and one of the things that I do is I help people get the homes and the lifestyles that they want. Now, there's been a lot in the media about how younger couples, particularly in Sydney, can no longer afford to get into the Sydney market. That's paradoxical because often Sydney incomes are more than enough to justify a Sydney mortgage, but what these people have or don't have is the 20% deposit that is needed to get into the Sydney market. I'm going to share with you today an explanation of how I help those people, and I've done a number of these, and it's a technique known as a family guarantee. And the way that I do it minimises the risk for the folks, and it also means that these young couples can get their homes, which may not otherwise be possible. So, in a normal mortgage, and let's say that you're looking at a property that's worth $600,000, in order to avoid something called lender's mortgage insurance, banks will ask you to come up with a 20% deposit. They will lend you more than the 80%. At 81%, they will charge you an extra 0.5% for the lender's mortgage insurance. But it gets steeply more expensive. And at 95%, it adds up to another 4%, on top of 4% stamp duty. So it gets pretty steep pretty fast. What it means for couples is that a $600,000 property, the bank would lend $480,000, which means that the young couple has to come up with $120,000 plus another $25,000 in stamp duty. It's pretty steep. And I'm finding that a lot of young couples aren't too bad at saving. $45,000, $65,000 savings are very commendable and they're not uncommon, but they're often inadequate. So part of the problem we need to do is to breach the gap between that 20% deposit and what the couple actually have. So I often use a product known as a family guarantee or a family pledge, and it works like this. The couple are interested in this 600k property, and we've already seen the fact that they would need to come up with another $145,000. But the banks are lending against the value of a property. So if they turn to their folks and say, here you are in your house in Panania or Revesby or wherever it might be, valued at 1 point something million, and you don't actually owe anything on the house anymore, there is $1 million worth of assets that is doing nothing for anybody. So the parents could elect to offer additional security to the bank to support the young couple. It is not their entire house. It is only a part of the equity that they have. In this example, $1 million property, $150,000 worth of equity is all that's going to be required. And the parents, this is a security guarantee, not a servicing guarantee. What that means is that the parents are not on the hook for repayments. That stays with the young couple. But the bank looks at it like this. We had 600 and now we've got another 150 of security. So we are now going to lend 80% against that. So now that loan, which was 480, has now become 600. Consequently, remember the property was costing 600? The young couple now only have to come up with enough money for stamp duty. Here's something that I do when I do these loans, which is a little bit different. I structure the loans this way. I have an 80% loan, which is just the young couples, fixed rate, and it's interest only. Principal and interest repayments, interest only repayments are about 3/4. So in other words, if you had a P&I repayment of $100, interest only would be about 75. So that means for this young couple, they've now got an extra $25 per 100 to use to pay down the other part of the loan, what I call the 20% loan, and that's the one that the parent's property is attached to. So the fixed rate gives the young couple cash flow breathing space to smash down the 20% loan, which is variable and principal and interest. The idea is to pay down that loan as fast as possible so that the equity is no longer required. One of the questions you may ask is, how long is this going to last? How long is the parent's equity potentially going to be on the hook? The answer is, I don't know, but I can help the couple to control it. Family pledge gets removed as a function of an increase in value of the underlying property, the target property, and at 4% per annum in Sydney, you will have your 20% extra equity in just 5 years. Now, you can't control that, but what you can control is the pay down of that 20% loan. And the faster that the couples pay down that loan balance, the more they are increasing their own equity. And when A plus B, in our example, equals 120,000, there is no longer any need for the parent's property or support. So this is a way in which young couples who think that they can't get into the property market now can. But there is risks involved, and I walk my clients through these risks. I'm not going to go through each of these in detail, but suffice it to say that one of the things I focus on quite clearly is understanding what the risks and mitigants are. For example, if one half of the young couple was involved in a car accident, was unable to work for 6 months, that would significantly impact their ability to repay the loan. So one of the things I say to my clients is that you must have insurance to protect your income against that sort of event. Maybe the property isn't going to generate rent. There may have been a fire and the place is untenantable. You must have building and contents insurance. And as real estate agents would know, that's a must-have before buying a property. One of the interesting things of this, though, is jealous siblings, because the parents are setting an example for younger siblings. You've just given Johnny $120,000, it's my turn. I want $120,000. The family dynamics have to be right. Can't have too many kids because you're going to give away all your equity, and you've got to manage the relationship between the kids as well. But this is a much better solution than gifting the children $50,000 or $120,000. So much better. There is one thing, however, that I can't mitigate, and that's the risk of relationship breakup. So if the young couple were to split, there's not much I can do about that, but I can help people to understand that most of the risks can be mitigated. So if they're separated within that 5 years, there's not much I can do. But hopefully most relationships will last longer than those 5 years. In summary, I help people get the lifestyles they want by getting them the money for the houses that they want. For me, it's not about the mortgage. No one cuddles up to a mortgage. But your first family home is very important to you, and I can help people to do that. I'll open that up to questions.
One question, because we're out of time.
Okay, so yeah, I went through this process when I brought my first home to my parents. Great idea. The thing is, what happens if you want to invest again? Can you use it again? So say you want to invest again, you know you can afford a second property, but you can't afford the deposit. Can you then get your parents, if they've got a lot of equity through their property, can you then use theirs?
Have you discharged the early one?
Discharge the first one.
Absolutely you can.
Yeah.
So it's a process you can do over and over.
You certainly can.
Thanks, John.
Great, John.
Thank you very much.